Hello, I'm Mandy Kaplan here with an important message. Throughout the modern era, millions, nay, billions of people have enjoyed countless hours of video games, stars, both Trek and Wars, comic books, and other nerdy endeavors. That's an infinite number of gasps and laughs as 20-sided dice are thrown, Pokemon are caught, and Doctor Who has done whatever the hell they do. Yet one person has missed out on all of this. One woman who doesn't know her droids from her hobbits has been left behind. Until now. That's right. I'm trading in my Taylor Swift and Housewives for superheroes and Wookiees as I finally embrace all things sci-fi and fantasy on my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, with Mandy Kaplan. Each week, a passionate guest will try to baptize me into the world of nerdery as they share one of these iconic entities that I have somehow missed. And you can help. For just $5 a month or $55 a year, you can become a member. For your generous donation, which is less than a new Tesla, you'll not only be supporting my mission, you'll get early access to episodes, bonus content, and more stuff I haven't thought of yet. So please, join me wherever you podcast as I finally learn what all the fuss has been about and see if going through this nerd-education will, in fact, make me a nerd. Or, as they say in Klingon, who am I kidding?
Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Horror movies get a bad rap. They're cheap thrills, mindless gore, not cinema, blah, blah, blah.
But we here at Sitting in the Dark know better. We know that horror is more than just jump scares and chainsaws. It's a reflection of our deepest fears, our anxieties, Okay, and there's a lot of jump scares and chainsaws.
Join us, Pete Wright, Tommy Metz III, Kyle Olson, and Keenan Diaz, as we cut into the dark heart of horror cinema.
Every episode, we explore a different facet of the genre, from survival horror to home invasions, from zombies to birds. We tickle the tropes, analyze the angles, and sharpen our own axes along the way.
We'll introduce you to the classics that shaped the genre.
And the modern masterpieces that are pushing the boundaries of terror.
Sitting in the Dark is your guide to navigating the terrifying, thrilling, and sometimes hilariously bad world of horror movies.
We'll help you understand why we love to be scared.
And maybe even convert you into a horror fan yourself.
So turn off the lights, close the basement door,
and join us.
Sitting in the dark.
In a world where podcasts are a dime a dozen, one show dares to stand out from the rest.
The Film Board, a podcast unafraid to tell it like it is.
We're here for one reason and one reason only. Downloads.
That's right. We review new release movies because that's what gets people's attention.
But just because we're in it for the clicks doesn't mean we don't take our job seriously.
We're part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts, and we're proud of it.
Our reviews are just as insightful and thought-provoking as any of our other film podcasts.
It's just that this podcast is all about that sweet, sweet SEO.
The nectar squoze from the tree of Bing.
We're only human, but we're also creators.
And creators eat clicks to survive.
So if you want honest, unfiltered opinions on the very latest movies right on opening weekend,
delivered with the self-awareness of a team looking for downloads,
then tune in to the Film Board.
Where every download counts, but yours counts the most.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I am Mandy Kaplan. This is my podcast, and my mission is to explore the world of nerdery that I have been missing out on my entire life. I am a mainstream Taylor Swift bachelorette-loving mom who hears about things at dinner parties, cool things like Marvel shows and Star Wars spin-offs and Dungeons and Dragons, and I tune out and drink more wine and eat more cheese. But today, I am taking a baby step toward my nerducation by watching Andor with one of my dearest friends in the world. I don't care for him, but I love his wife. So we can't help this. And he loves my husband, and my husband loves him. He is hilarious and a wildly successful television producer. I'm lucky to have gotten him to spend an hour with me and you. Everyone, put your hands together for Yoshi Stone.
Hello, I'm blushing from your introduction.
It's pronounced Yoshi. Do I have that right?
That's how I pronounce it. Yeah, you can pronounce it however you'd like.
Okay. Hi, friend.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I get to spend all this time, just you and me, no kids, no spouses. It's almost like we're cheating.
Yes, that's how I had it in my calendar.
Hot times with Mandy.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you were one of the very first people I thought of when I conceived of this podcast. But you are very busy, and you were traveling the world and producing television with your pal Martin Scorsese. Am I pronouncing that
Up
right?
and comer. I feel like he's got a future.
Okay, well, we'll see. So now that you're back and I could get you on the show, I want to say with the most love and respect in my heart, you are one of the nerdiest people I know. And I mean that.
I wasn't sure if this was all a backhanded compliment or just an outright slight.
No, it's absolute appreciation for how hard you fan out about things.
Sure.
Some of them classically nerdy, like
all sci-fi and comic books, and a whole lifetime of reading comics up until the current day. Every big sci-fi show I at least check out. Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, you name it, I'm dabbling.
Yeah. Battlestar Galactica was...
love the Battlestar.
Okay, that was an option for us. It might still be. And you also fan out and nerd out about all things Philly sports.
It is a disease, truly.
You fan out about... these are some of my memories in our 25-year friendship. Pipes.
There was a phase there.
Calligraphy and pen pals.
Fountain pens, yes.
Fountain pens, excuse me. Certainly there have been many, many craft cocktails that not only have you prepared and ingested, researched and lectured, and there were some foamy eggs at my house at one time going in a cocktail.
I recently batched and clarified a cocktail, which involves pouring it into milk and letting it curdle and then filtering it out. Milk washing is another term for it. So yeah, that's ongoing.
Milk washing sounds very porny. Most egregious of all of your obsessions, and I have not seen it yet today, but I know it's coming, is your need for multiple beverages. He's reaching over, folks. Here's one in a bright purple cup with a straw. I'm assuming that's water.
This is water. It is the 40-ounce purple Stanley special Olivia Rodrigo edition.
We should all have one. We should all be so lucky. What other beverages do you have around you right now?
I actually cleared them off.
Generally, hot beverage. There's a kombucha. There's a sparkly something, and there's a water.
There's always still a sparkling, often a caffeinated kombucha, seltzer, good bets. Coffee or tea, good bet, and certainly always water.
Yes, and then if it's past 4:00, there might be a craft cocktail that's been milk washed.
I typically don't drink those 40 ounces at a time, though.
Not that you're telling anyone.
Right, exactly.
But I can't see what's in that Olivia Rodrigo special edition sparkly purple cup.
Between me and the cup and O-Rod.
Enough chit-chat. We have Andor to discuss.
That we do.
Can you see my name that I have?
Oh, look at you, Mandor.
Right? Mandor, do you know what my name is every other episode?
Mandy?
Mando Calrissian.
Mando Calrissian, of course, which is something that I have long called you.
You came up with it, and it has become my brand.
I love that
So
for you.
I'm not going now you're getting credit, but you're not getting any of my profits or anything
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
Yeah. So why do you love and want to talk about Andor of all the entities that we brainstormed, and this is the one that you settled on? Why is that, sir?
Well, a lot of reasons, but if I had to pick one, it would be that it is, in my opinion, singularly well suited to this application, because if there is anything that should be an entry point for the non-nerd, it's something like this, because it's set in the Star Wars universe, but you never see a Jedi or a lightsaber or like any of the Skywalker lore. It's about real people that happen to live in that world.
Let me, for anybody who doesn't know what Andor is, as I did not, here's a little summary beginning 5 years before the events of Rogue One. Go back and listen to that episode on this podcast, please. And A New Hope. Go back and listen to that episode on this podcast, please. The series follows an ensemble cast of characters during the time that a rebel alliance is forming in opposition to the Galactic Empire. One of these characters is Cassian Andor, a thief who becomes a revolutionary and eventually joins the rebellion. When you press play on this, there is an intense violence warning. And I immediately thought, oh, Yoshi knows me so well. This is going to be great.
Yeah, but that's not what the show is, really.
My Wikipedia is inaccurate? Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, violence and action. Certainly, there are moments of violence and action. And, you know, in that opening scene, obviously, there's a little bit of violence. But the story really is about people. And that's what I think. It's just so grounded in a way that Star Wars content often isn't. It really does away with the mythological and embraces the human. And that is something that I think makes it stand out and is wonderful. And I thought maybe if there was a way to get you interested, it might be through that little doorway.
The series stars Diego Luna. When he came on screen, I wrote, ooh, can we talk about Y Tu Mama Tambien instead? I love that movie and I love him. He is infinitely watchable. And I think tons of the reason you watch the show hinges upon his humanity, because he ain't a nice guy. He makes very poor choices. He does things that are very not nice, like shooting innocent people in the head. But we're rooting for him. And do you think that's because of the actor's charisma or the way they've created the character? Because that's how the show starts. He goes into like what Hooters has become in the future. And it is scary. And he meets a couple of thugs, and then the thugs follow him out and they're shaking him down for his money, and he shoots them. He brutally murders them.
Right. Well, that's a yes, he does. But it's also a little bit more morally gray than that, because they're shaking him down, and in trying to fight them off, one of them is accidentally killed. And he realizes that if he leaves the other one alive, he will be persecuted, found, and made to pay for what was a crime of self-defense. And so as a result, he needs to brutally murder the other one. So
who's like crying and begging for his life. So it's a tough moment. I definitely thought, oh, damn, you know.
I would say he probably wouldn't have murdered either one of them if not for that accidental death, which is a result of them having pursued him under false pretenses. But at the end of the day, yes, he does some murder.
He does some murder. And these guys are officers of the evil police force, or what do we call that? I'm waving my arms around in the air to indicate I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're corporate security. So at this point...
And now I'm voguing. Hold on.
As everyone does when they watch
yes.
the show. It's private security. So at this point, the Empire hasn't come in with their military. They're outsourcing. They've hired this company to keep the peace in the outer reaches so that they don't have to stretch themselves too thin.
It's like the ADT of outer space.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, nice and clear. So after the futuristic Hooters, Then they flash back to Andor's childhood, Cassian's. The show's called Andor, but we call him Cassian.
Sure, we're
right?
close.
Okay. So this changed tone, it changed look, it changed everything. He, as a child, was in this bright green jungle primitive world. So we go from this very bleak, dark, seedy looking world to this bright, hopeful youth in the jungle, although there seemed to be no parents, and I'm assuming shit wasn't good before this. But I really, really needed for my screen to lighten up and to keep me engaged with some color and some hope. And it did it at just the right time.
I do think it's interesting also that they choose not to translate what is being said on that planet. So they're speaking whatever language is native to that planet, and never once do they subtitle it. You just have to glean the meaning from what you're watching happen on the screen.
There's very little dialogue, but it's very Lord of the Flies-esque. And these children are taking care of themselves and have created their own society, apparently, in this jungle. It's called Canary. It's a tribe. I looked it up. And yes, you're right. There's no translation. So we just know, oh, that one's mad, or that one's excited, or they're all ganging up on that one. And it's a strong choice. And do you have any idea why that choice was made?
I don't. That specific choice, I don't know. But I think the story, that part of the story, serves a very specific purpose, not only to give you Cassian's backstory, but also to introduce Marva and to give her some backstory. That's Andor's mom, and also to demonstrate the impact that the Empire has out on this, middle of nowhere jungle planet that is half abandoned because of a mining disaster that took place there. And now,
See, how do you know that? The mining disaster part.
It comes out over the course of the series when Andor becomes a person of interest and they identify him as Canary. People then talk about the planet.
Oh, maybe not where I was watching, or maybe I was folding laundry, but there's a chance I missed something. No, so the first 3 episodes that we watched really bounced between these two worlds. This bleak, scary world where he's being followed and hunted, and everyone's turning their backs on everyone, and violence is afoot. And then they flash back to this beautiful green world where he grew up. And I really enjoyed both of those, because I gotta tell you that it's uncomfortable. Where is he? Frixon? Where is he living? Ferrix?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a pleasant place.
No, it seems sort of like the junkyard of the galaxy, right?
Yeah. And they really create the world so beautifully. I just said it's so close to being familiar to us. There's like a town square. We see some shops. We see a bar, places where people work. The guys are all getting off their shift. I don't know what they do, but they're getting off their shift. And it reminds me of the opening of the Lego movie when all the little construction workers are getting off. And that's right. I said Lego movie and getting off in the same sentence. But then an alien-esque creature walks by, or some bulbous, weird-faced thing, and they're like, "Hey, hi, good morning," and they keep walking. And it's
bulbous and weird-faced is how I am described often.
I love it, because it's like, oh yeah, I get it. That's how the town works. That's how the day-to-day goes there. Oh, wait, that's completely out of the ordinary.
To me, that's one of the best things that the show does. And I remember the first time I was watching one of the original Star Wars movies with my oldest child, who is now 13, but at the time was probably 4, something like that. And he asked where everybody on the Death Star keeps their shoes. And I remember thinking, like, what a bizarre question to ask, but also, where do they keep their shoes? And in watching this, I forget if it's in the first 3 episodes or not, but there's a scene where a bunch of people get onto a shuttle, just like a transport shuttle, and they're all wearing different shoes. It's not standard issue Empire boots. It's not a uniform, and it feels so real. Their shoes are in different states of wear and different states of dirty, and like it's just so humanizing in exactly the way you're talking about. You're like, oh, I understand how shoes work. I understand how after work works, you know?
Yes. The nitty gritty details, which I always love in historical fiction or in anything taking place in an unfamiliar world. I want to know, well, what do you eat for breakfast? Well, what do you wear on your feet on a day-to-day basis? And this does that very well. We get to go home with some of these people. I think in other series we would only see them in their workplace or on the run, but we get to go see what their houses are like, and it's a well-constructed world. Then we're back into the hired force that you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Wilford Brimley-esque police chief, only in one scene, and he's hilarious.
Yes, but he does not have diabetes.
He might not. You don't really know that.
I guess it's true. I don't know.
Right. So the gung-ho, play by the book, get the bad guys, prove myself nerdy, that's the wrong word, but the young cop who's like, we got to get this guy. He killed 2 of our men. And Wilford Brimley is like, so what I hear you saying is we don't really know what happened, and we're not going to waste any resources on it. Have a good day. And it's a very funny speech, and I liked that a lot.
It's, based on the movies, you think of the Empire as like this all-encompassing machine, and it's like well-oiled, and every detail is structured. And then you've got this scene where there's a dude who's like, look, man, I can't deal with this today. I gotta, we have reports coming up. Even if we find out what happens, it's going to be a bigger pain in the ass than if we just sweep it under the rug. So just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. And it's like almost bureaucracy at its worst, or red tape, or, it's just, you can imagine an employee going to his boss and saying, hey, we need more funding in our department. No, not going to happen. And that's what this guy leaves with. Now, at this point, I'm frustrated because I don't know anyone's name. And I learned in a past episode not to go on IMDb, because then I might see that someone's only in one episode or something. So I don't want to do that. So what is this cop's name?
Cyril.
Mm-hmm. So not Joshua Jackson, who sounds like Tom Cruise if you close your eyes.
Correct. It is not Josh Jackson or Tom Cruise.
Okay. But now, will you please go back? Everyone, pause the podcast. Go listen to him speak. Close your eyes. It's very Tom Cruise-esque.
This is quite the report. This happened when?
Last night, sir. I knew you were leaving this morning, and I wanted to make sure you had all the available information before your departure.
You've been very busy.
2 men are dead, sir. Employees. That's not worth staying up for, then I'm not worthy of the uniform.
Have you modified your uniform?
Perhaps slightly. Pockets piping and some light tailoring.
Happy to hear it now.
Yeah, I know. And do we know the actor's name?
Yes, we do. His name is Kyle Soller, Soller. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Okay, so I was watching, Jer sat down and he said, I can't tell if that guy's a bad actor. And I said, I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's British trying to do an American accent. Am I onto something?
I don't know where he's from.
Oh.
But
all right. Kyle Soller, if you're listening.
Could very well be the case.
Okay. That was the vibe I got. So when you're watching these things for the first time, you sit down, ooh, this is the new Star Wars thing, you press play. How do you learn the names of these characters? They are not clearly stated.
I guess, some you learn, some you don't. And I don't really bump on it. I think I'm willing to have the information that is necessary when it is necessary. So it didn't even occur to me. Obviously it's a rewatch for me, but even the first time through, I don't remember thinking like, ooh, I'm annoyed by not knowing these people's names. It was like, I know who he is and what he's doing. His name is kind of unimportant to me at this point. Whereas some of Cassian's friends, they're all saying names, in a way where I forget them all.
Okay.
So it's sort of the other side of the same coin.
I guess when you're watching, it's totally fine. You're like, oh, right, the guy who's his friend who helped him. But when you're trying to take notes, it's brutal.
Yes. Well, that's 100% accurate.
Most people are not taking notes. And my research department has gotten back to me. Kyle Solar, an American actor.
Oh, so does that mean he is, in the eyes of one Jeremiah Clavens, just bad?
Yes. Yeah. Jer didn't like him. I thought he was very good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was more morally complex.
Sure.
When I do this with my notes, doesn't that make me seem very important?
Yeah.
And smart?
I feel like I might be in trouble.
Oh, good. That's how I like my guests to feel. So you said it's set in the Star Wars world, which I totally understand. But I watched up to that Wilford Brimley scene, and I wrote, this doesn't feel like a Star Wars show at all to me. Nothing about it.
It almost feels, it's certainly sci-fi, but it almost feels like it could be in the Blade Runner world. It's just some technologically advanced and destitute future somewhere. The Star Wars-iness of the universe becomes more and more important as you move through the series. You know, by episode, 8 or 9, Cassian is in a prison where the prison workers are forced to make parts for the Death Star.
Okay. So that's it's not an Easter egg, but it's when you see that, you're like, oh, right. That's a connection to the familiar.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, the first time it felt Star Wars-y to me is when we see the most beautiful actress in the world, Adria Arjona. Oh, forgive me. I don't know her name. She plays Bix.
Yep.
And she's a welder, or she is welding something. And the sounds that she's making are classic Star Wars sound effects.
Right.
And it gave me a little thrill. And I was like, oh, okay. Now we're hearing something, pew pew or something very familiar and Star Wars-y.
Totally. Like when Andor and Luthen end up in a firefight with the security forces, it's all pew pews, and then
the red lasers.
They're yelling about meeting a speeder, and it's all the familiar language.
Yes, and that is in the third episode that we watched.
Right.
It also has a very Bourne Identity feel when a character is on the move or trying to find another character or being chased. The action is very fast, and it really reminded me in color and palette and feel of the Bourne Identity movies, which is fun. That's not something you think of in the Star Wars world.
For sure. But I think it's a great example of tension and stakes. And I think that's what it brings to this. It really feels like there is jeopardy and that the characters are at risk and that the stakes are high, which I think is the intent. So that feels like a win for old Tony Gilroy and his friends.
Now, who is Tony Gilroy? He created this?
Correct.
What's his background?
So I believe he was also behind Rogue One.
Makes sense.
But he also wrote and directed the George Clooney film, what's it called, where he's the lawyer who's a fixer.
Michael Clayton?
Michael Clayton, yeah.
Nailed it.
So Tony Gilroy is like an extremely talented filmmaker who makes extremely grounded stories, which is why the marriage between him and Star Wars sounds like it shouldn't work at all, but it turns out, in my opinion, it produced the best Star Wars thing of the past couple of decades.
That's how you feel about Andor? The best Star Wars?
For the most part, the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff has been atrocious.
That is the opinion of one Yoshi Stone, not the opinion of Make Me a Nerd, nor its parent company, True Story FM.
I'll wear it. I'll happily
All
wear
right.
it. But then this comes along and it's so different and so great that it's not just a good Star Wars show, in my opinion. It's just a good show. And like, yes, you have to be willing to play in the sci-fi kiddie pool, but if you are, then you're just watching a very tense and real story about people.
Now, did Felix, your oldest son, did he watch this with you?
He did not. I think it came out at the wrong time. He was a Star Wars completist for a while. And I think that some of those early Star Wars shows were so bad that they kind of turned him off.
Mandalorian, everybody loves.
Yeah, the first season of Mandalorian is good. After that, it gets a little dicey, but like the Boba Fett show was absolute trash. The Obi-Wan show was so disappointing. Ahsoka was almost unwatchable.
Now you're just making words up.
I'm
and
not
the
making them
bleepity
up.
bloop and its spin-off.
It's all like the Dave Filoni universe stuff. Nothing against Dave Filoni. I'm told that the animated stuff is spectacular, though I never watched it in its entirety. But so the combination of like dud after dud with his discovery of baseball, which became the only thing he cared about, sort of left this one out for him.
You said the timing was poor, and I was like, what was it, Lent? And he gave this up for the, but
he had given up Star Wars for Lent in our extremely devout Catholic household.
Yes, I understand. Well, that's where this episode leaves off in terms of my notes and observations. Cassian's on the run. Bix, we know, is trying to help him. And we don't meet Marva yet, because I'm all excited to talk about her.
Wait, we don't meet Marva in the first episode?
I don't think so, because the next one starts with me flipping out about Fiona Shaw.
Fiona Shaw, she's so good.
She's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it. Let's get to that second episode and our love letter to Fiona Shaw. So the second episode is called That Would Be Me, and the Wikipedia says Cassian scrambles to settle his affairs on Ferrix with friends and family as tactical forces close in on him, led by an obsessed agent, whose name I know is Cyril, driven to preserve law and order. Meanwhile, a mysterious man with eyes on Cassian arrives on the planet. Heads up, Stellan Skarsgård fans. Okay, so when I read that and I pressed play, it all came together for me. Essentially, this is Les Mis, with Javert chasing Valjean.
Okay, so in this, Javert is Cyril?
Cyril, yeah. Who we know we are rooting against him, but he is representing law and order, and he is trying to capture a bad guy. Now, brutally murdering someone in an alley, slightly worse than stealing a loaf of bread, although it depends on what kind of bread.
And where you are. My guess is if you're in France.
Right? Was there cheese involved?
Yeah. Then it's a capital crime.
But that's what this all brings me back to, is who do you really root for? I mean, in Les Mis, we know Valjean is a good guy, but he does a lot of things to preserve his life and freedom. And that's what Cassian is doing. Cassian, sorry.
Yeah. Definitely. For Cassian, my view of it is this is sort of his hero's journey. We meet him as a person who is kind of a ne'er-do-well in the Han Solo mode. He's a charming cad, right?
Yep.
Even in that first episode, everyone in the town knows him, and everyone in the town seems to like him, but also he seems to owe every single one of them money or a favor or
a favor, right?
So, and by the end of the series, writ large, we're at the beginning of Rogue One. So we've got this guy who is like a hero for the cause. And it's the story of how he gets from here to there. So in season 1, am I allowed to spoil the season for you?
Yeah, because this aired a couple years ago, but new season coming up. So
right, I just figured you were gonna voraciously work your way through the rest of the series. Yeah, by the end of season 1, Andor has gone from like from a rogue to a mercenary to I'm all in for the cause. Tell me what's next.
Mm-hmm. Which is how he gets involved in Rogue One, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. And then for Cyril, it's interesting because in a way you're rooting for him also. So the way that the series is structured across 12 episodes is in 3 episode cycles. So there are 4
Mhm.
cycles of 3 episodes, obviously arcs all the way across, but each one almost is like its own movie. It's like its own 90 to 120-minute movie. And by the
Mhm.
time we're into the third movie, the third cycle of 3, Cyril, you're rooting so hard for this weird villain love story between him and a woman who works for the Empire, who is
Oh.
doggedly pursuing Cassian Andor, and it's so weird to root for it,
Mhm.
but you do.
Yeah. Well, he's a very, I thought, good actor. Suck it, Jer. And and his character, we see how torn he is about what he's doing at times. He is not a robotic, like, must kill Cassian Andor. He's doing this because he wholeheartedly believes in the cause and he's trying to prove himself. That seems clear to me, his insecurity. But he's right. This guy killed a man. You want to hate him because he can be smarmy and a bit of a know-it-all. But at one point they're like, okay, let's hear from Cyril. And he's in a meeting and you see him panic that, oh, I'm in charge. I'm supposed to tell these soldiers what to do. And I liked that. I thought he was a very complex, he's supposed to be the villain, but I thought it was a well-rounded portrayal of a villain.
Yeah, and they do a great job of sort of playing with that moral ambiguity throughout. Later on, there's an episode where Andor is part of a heist. They're stealing money from the Empire to help fund the rebellion, but
Oh, I love a heist. Maybe I do have to watch.
love a
I
heist,
love a heist.
but he's hired as a mercenary, so he's there for money. But ultimately, one of the other people who is there for the cause, played by Eben Moss Bacharach, which he's fantastic. And
Wait, Eben, you said?
yeah,
Yeah, I love him.
And after they pull off the heist, Eben Moss Bacharach's character is like, "Look, we got away. Why don't you and I just split the money and
Mhm.
screw the rebellion?" And Andor is like, "We're not doing that." Um, and then, later in the prison storyline, there's a great Andy Serkis plays a fellow prisoner who like goes from the foreman cracking down on everyone to helping to engineer an escape. Like there's just a ton of moral up and down that feel
Yeah.
very real to me because like no human being is always good or always bad.
And I feel bad because when you said, well, my favorite episodes or the ones that I would want to talk about aren't necessarily 1, 2, 3. And I steered us towards 1, 2, and 3 so that I could understand the narrative and not be jumping in later. But I'm seeing you light up about those. And
Yeah, but I'm
I'm
also
sorry I
very thankful
deprived
that
you.
I'm also thankful that we watched the first 3 because in my mind I was like, I don't think it's the best. They're not the best episodes, but I forgot how much I enjoyed them. Like
Oh,
even
good.
episode 2, which I had said like, oh, that kind of drags for me. I was fully in, and especially watching them back to back to back,
Hmm.
it did feel like a movie. It felt like a complete story that still left room for more.
Yep.
Um, and I really quite enjoyed it.
And did you keep going or are you going to keep going for a rewatch?
I did keep going, yeah.
You did? Did you get all the way through?
I'm not all the way through. I think I'm in like episode 7.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I will keep going because I like what you're saying about all of the ups and downs, and I love a heist. That's what I liked about Rogue One. And my guest who chose Rogue One said it's a heist movie.
Mm-hmm.
And once you frame it as that, it's like, well, then that's my favorite. That's exciting and stakes are high, but there's a real clear through line and
Right.
purpose.
Ocean's 11, right?
Ugh, love that movie. I even love Ocean's 8.
Oh,
That's how much I love a heist movie. Okay. So we are in this episode and we see Cassian go home to his mom and he's like, "Mom, I got to go. I'm in trouble. Sorry." And that is Fiona Shaw, whom I have loved ever since she tried to seduce Tom Selleck in 3 Men and a Little Lady.
Wow.
Yep.
Deep cut.
Deep cut. She is brilliant. And since then, every time I see her, my cockles are warm. I'm sorry to bring them up. And she's so talented. And we see her and she's harried and probably in her mid to late 70s.
Yeah, I would think so.
And is trying to help him. And we learn he was adopted. And then he takes off on her, leaving her worried for him.
Is adopted the right word, though?
Well, all we know is he's not her natural born son at that point, right?
Oh, right. Because that happens in the third episode that we learn more.
Right.
Yeah.
So but the scene with her, I said, it's so dramatic and it's really not Star Wars-y at all. Did Star Wars purists, did they embrace this or were they resistant to it because it was like, this feels like an episode of something dramatic. Oh God, I can't even think of a show, but it feels quite different.
Yeah. I can only go by my sphere of Star Wars, but it was at least within my circles, universally beloved.
Okay.
By even the purists.
Good.
I think it just does such a good job telling the story, and obviously the caliber of the performances is so high. It's it's just revealing another layer of the world that you already love. I think it's not like usurping it,
I find it depressing. It's my screen is dark. It's shadowy. You can't trust anybody. No one is happy or smiling throughout any of this show, the 3 episodes we watched. And I wrote, not one dance number or fart joke. Are they coming?
Yeah, I mean, there are occasional moments of levity, like the Wilford Brimley guy you referenced before. It's pretty good. There's some Empire office politics stuff that's great later on, where people are trying to like one up each other and undercut each other, which is not necessarily always funny, but definitely different. And those scenes are also very bright. The stuff that takes place at Empire headquarters is like,
yeah, that's coming, and that was nice when my screen got light.
It is definitely dark for sure.
But then we went back to Canary, and the kids have found an ship, and they approach the ship, and some of the people on the ship are dead, and some of them are injured, and somebody pops up and shoots a teenager in the face.
Correct.
There's your intense violence.
They get, they get very sad and mad about it.
Yes. But who goes to rescue the ship? Is that why she goes? Marva?
Marva is there to steal. So she's collecting valuable parts from the ship. And then it's Clem, who is her husband, I think, or partner, is saying, like, we got to go. We don't have time. Stop grabbing all the stuff. And she's like, but we'll never find it again. Do you know how valuable this is? And then ultimately they find Cassian.
And she kidnaps him. She drugs him and takes him.
I mean, again, I think there are a few ways to look at it. On the one hand, you could say that she's rescuing him because she knows that the Empire is going to send more people after this ship that has crashed, and that is not going to go well for the locals. But also...
Oh, I absolutely think she was rescuing him.
Right, but also they're not there yet. She has no idea if he has people or if those people can hide him or whatever. She just sees a child that she believes to be in danger and takes it home.
Yes.
So, she's rescuing him, but also a little bit kidnapping it.
Totally fine. That's the rule in California, too.
Oh, I see. I didn't know it was...
you just pick one up and bring it home. Yep. I saw such a shift in her makeup and appearance. So she seems legitimately 20 years younger than she was in the current day story. I don't think they're using prosthetics. I also think she subtly, the younger version of her, moved quicker, spoke with more strength. And then when she's a little older, she's run down. And
Right,
it's
yeah. I think they
fantastic
deliberately
performance.
sort of gave her that cane to walk with and the slow, painful gait so that the so that it wouldn't have to be quite so prosthetic-y or CGI-y for her to seem younger.
Oh, that Fiona Shaw. Okay, so now she's a mom. And this episode takes a turn because then we're all of a sudden on a cool subway-esque aircraft, right? At the end of this episode. And he's like, oh, I'm coming to town. And there's a lighthearted character yammering at him on the subway, trying to offer him tips of local tips. And
Right. Can you believe how much they charge for parking?
and the episode ends with weird drum heavy music. What's up with that? It feels very jarring and like it didn't belong.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. I do love that, though, that this series doesn't feel the need to constantly end on a cliffhanger. I mean, it's such a trope at this point, like, oh, there's the end of the episode cliffhanger. Whereas this episode,
Ross said Emily instead of Rachel.
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas this episode just ends. It's like two dudes are on a shuttle, and then it's like, well, this is over, and we're playing weird music now.
Yeah. Well, I think that there is a cliffhangery feel because you don't know who Skarsgård is. Is he coming to kill Cassian? Is he coming to help him?
Or he's just made a big reveal, or,
Right. Well, then we're on to the episode 3, The Reckoning. The Cordon tightens as tactical troopers close in on their target, the fugitive Cassian Andor. Desperate to evade arrest, Caspian makes contact with a mysterious yet well-connected man, Skarsgård, who could supply him with money, a means off-world, and perhaps a whole new direction in life. I don't know what a means off-world means.
A way to get off the planet.
Okay. I was confused until it revealed itself that Skarsgård wanted to help him. And maybe later in the series he doesn't, but he seems like he does. Do we know who he is? I can look up his name now so I don't keep saying Skarsgård.
Luthen is his name. So, again, his role becomes clearer and clearer as the series unfolds, but when he arrives, it is ostensibly to purchase this stolen item that Cassian has, right? He goes to Bix, his gorgeous ex-girlfriend, and says, "Hey, make contact with your guy who buys stuff. I got something big to sell him."
Okay.
But then
this is what I was murky on. Yeah. Thank you.
So he's trying to sell a stolen drive. And then when Luthen arrives, it turns out he's not there just to purchase the drive. He's there to check out Andor, who he thinks could be an asset for the rebellion.
The resistance.
Right. So it's not so much that he's helping him, it's that he is vetting him and gauging whether or not he will be helpful to the cause.
It's like a callback from an audition.
Yeah, he's calling him back. That's what he's doing.
When the locals want to get attention because the cops, the hired hands are coming in to find Cassian. So the locals do a production of Stomp.
They do, yes. Everybody starts banging on stuff.
Banging and hooping and hollering. And that is to create distraction so Cassian can get away. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% clear on that either. I think it's one just to make everyone uneasy. It's to make the security forces nervous and jumpy, which I think it does a good job of doing. I think it's also a distraction, and it's also a way to warn everybody that something is afoot.
Yeah.
So I think it's serving a few purposes.
Okay, so everyone's banging and everyone's running, but the cops stop Bix. Everyone's running. They grab her and they're like, "Hey, where are you going?" Why do they grab her? For being too pretty?
That's certainly one of her trespasses. But isn't she doing something particularly suspicious? Like, I forget what exactly she was doing. Was she slinking or going to like make a call? She definitely did something that looked suspicious.
She is so distractingly beautiful. I zone out and I just imagine smelling her, you know? I just want to sniff her hair.
And what does it smell like?
Rain on a unicorn.
Okay.
She is just so pretty and a very good actress. Did you ever see the Belko Experiment?
No.
Oh my God, that movie's nuts. That's how I know her.
I see.
Then, oh no, now it's a laser gunfight. Star Wars is happening. Everyone's pew-pewing, right? This is happening.
Star Warsing all over the place. Although with that added touch of the big machinery falling from the ceiling, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Absolutely. And Luthen and Cassian are flying away on a flying motorcycle thingy after creating all this distraction, and they crashed a ship. It was very cool. They did a, hey, look over here thing. It was great. That's what you were talking about, the thing falling?
I'm talking about in the shootout itself. There's those big pipe joint or what? Yeah.
Right. And then when they take off, the cops are like, they're in that ship. Get it.
Oh,
right.
Right.
They crash
Yeah.
the ship, but they're not in that ship. They kill the cute guy who Bix had friends with benefits, right?
Right. Didn't that seem a little bit kind of suicide by cop? Like he realized by calling the authorities he has done something terrible and that she's never going to forgive him for it.
Right. He betrayed her.
Right.
Yeah. It's a shame because he was cute, but it happens. You can't get too attached in these worlds. And then they are holding Marva against her will because maybe she knows where Cassian is. And they say, shut up. And I wrote, no, don't ever shut up, Fiona Shaw. Her voice is like a warm chocolate bath.
Sure. And she does give that nice little monologue about how, like, if the noise makes you nervous, that's not what you should be nervous about. It's when the noise stops.
Yeah. The calm before the storm.
Mm-hmm.
This episode leaves off with them Luthen and Cassian have flown off. She's being held. Bix is being held. And what's going to happen next? We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. How could we know?
But they fly to a more colorful place, at least. They're exiled or whatever I would call it, right? They go and at least there's some color on my screen again.
Sure.
My biggest complaint about this is that it wastes one of my favorite actors, Alan Tudyk. I guess he's the voice of the robot.
Right. I think that's the law enforcement robot that is in a later episode because he's also the voice of that same robot in Rogue One.
Oh.
The robot that's in these first episodes, the little red guy, is B something.
B2EMO.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Dave Chapman you can waste. I don't know him. But
I don't know him.
Okay, so Alan Tudyk is coming. I didn't even get to Alan Tudyk.
Correct.
But I just, I want to see he's a voiceover master, but I want to see his face.
Well, he's the voice of a robot when he does show up. So I'm sorry to disappoint you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, overall, I liked it. It was not like oh my God, I had to watch every episode after that. But it was exciting and different and grounded. It had enough of that heart, particularly with her worried about, with Fiona Shaw. Like, I just felt moved, and the acting is really great. And well done, you. Now I know what Mandor is.
I didn't make the show.
But you thought to assign it to me.
Sure.
And that's what they've been waiting for.
Spoiler alert, I also liked it.
It is your favorite Star Wars entity, you said? Of all the new stuff? Or
the sequel movies I thought were all pretty terrible. The series were all pretty terrible. Rogue One I thought was very good. But then this is a big standout for me.
We have come to the end of our time together, unless you are a member. If you're listening and you love Yoshi Stone as much as I do, please go to makemeanerd.com and hit that join button so you can hear my extra bonus interview about Yoshi and his nerdy love of Rubik's Cubes.
Love a Rubik's Cube.
We're going to get into it. So here's all my business, and then we'll say goodbye to non-member audience. The Make Me a Nerd podcast is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. The theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. You can find me on social media on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please take a moment, hit the 5 stars, write a review under that. Reach out, let me know what you think. Make suggestions for something you want me to get nerducated about. I am all about involving the audience. And if you want to be more involved, you can do that makemeanerd.com join button, and you get your episodes ad-free and early and bonus content with people like Yoshi Stone. Yoshi, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been had, my friend, and we'll get you back to talk about one of your other many nerdy loves.
I love it. I had a blast.
All right. So until next week, goodbye, everybody.